I just want to take this opportunity to express my appreciation for the level of decorum and respect that I find within the Rust community, especially the Rust admin side of the community. With all of the nonsense that's going on in the world, I'm so glad that I get to come to this pretend world where we get to control absolutely everything that's happening on our island and stuff like that. I really appreciate the efforts that everyone puts into making this community so successful. I don't know if many of you know this, but I do follow politics very, very closely. That's world politics, that's Canadian politics, that's American politics, everything. So I'm like constantly bombarded with like not very good stuff all the time. And I actually come to you all on a basically daily basis as a reprieve from all of that BS, we'll call it. And you all pull me back down into this reality that like there are some good people out in this world. It's not all like this, what you're seeing on TV and listening on satellite radio and watching on YouTube. I just wanted to take a minute to express my appreciation for everyone that participates in this community. All right, let's talk about some Rust stuff now. So one thing we know for sure is when we create events for our players on our server, they really love it. There's no question that players on your server, whether it's 1, 2, 5, or 250 players that are on your server, they love events. And since the implementation of the wipe cycle or wipe event that FacePunch has introduced for all servers across the board, they've given us access to, we'll call them fighter jets. There's probably a specific plane that they're modeled after, but I don't know what that is, so we're just going to call them fighter jets. So of course, being a part of the great community that we are a part of course there's going to be somebody out there that creates a plugin that takes control over those fighter jets, gives them nukes, gives them pilots, gives them parachutes, gives them loot, and turns the whole thing into an event. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rust Admin Academy, where I'm teaching you everything that you need to know about owning and operating a successful Rust server. On this channel, I do plugin reviews and tutorials, plus I want to give you all of the tips and tools that are going to make your Rust server ownership so much easier. If you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing so that you stay up to date on everything that we're working on and to get the latest updates on the Rust development world. I'll remind you a couple of times throughout the video to hit that like button if you're enjoying what you're watching, so please remember to do so. All right, let's get on to today's video. We are of course talking about JetEvent, and we can get it from 2 different places. And both of these locations are going to be listed in the video description down below, so don't worry, you don't have to remember these addresses. But the first one is MyVector.XYZ if you're Canadian or European, and of course MyVector.XYZ if you're American. That's the first location. The second location is actually CodeFling.com. Now, I didn't know that this plugin was hosted on CodeFling.com, and I promised you all last week that I was going to put CodeFling on the back burner, and unfortunately that plan went to the wayside as soon as I found out that it was hosted on both sites. And of course, I do have some exciting offers as far as the pricing goes for the plugin itself, but you're just going to have to wait and see what the plugin is all about before I'm going to tell you about those deals. All right, so before we get into all the details about how we make all this really cool stuff happen, let's actually see what it does first. Obviously, all of these JetEvent commands are going to be permission controlled, and it's only an admin permission that allows access to them. So choose your favorite permissions manager. In this case, I'm using admin menu from Chaos Code, and there is only one permission, and that is jetevent.admin. If you're not using a permissions manager, just make sure you manually go through the process of granting this permission to your admin or your moderator group, whoever you want to have access to these commands. Don't worry about this jetnukes.admin. You won't have that. This is a prior iteration of this same plugin. So once we have that permission granted to us as admin, in this specific case, you can do /jet in chat, and it's going to bring up all of the different options that are available for this plugin. So we can use the jet nuke command, which we can deploy on a specific player. In this case, I'm going to deploy it onto myself, and I'm going to make it 10 planes that are going to drop 10 nukes on my position. I know you all can hear what's going on in my game right now. I apologize, but I do want you to hear the functionality of what's going on as well. So there we've got one. There we've got one jet, and it should be dropping 10 nukes on me. Oh no, it's 10 individual jets. And they're dropping nukes on my location. We can also use /jet crash site, which will create a crash site directly where I am right now. And Razer has gone to some immense details on this crash site event. I'm super excited for you all to see this. There's going to be a pilot that is burning in the wreckage. He's screaming. He's using that old scream that we remember from years and years ago. There's going to be crates. Plus, there's going to be something a little bit extra that you'll see in just a minute. So here we go. The plane crashed and I missed it. But as you can see there, we've got our pilot, and he's certainly screaming away while he burns. We've also got the CH-47 flying in. because of course this pilot that's down on the ground needs backup. And another one of the details that Razer added is these backup soldiers or scientists, whatever you want to call them. They drop down using parachutes, just like that. Again, the details, awesome. Razer did a good job. All right, so I just shut off the audio there because I know that that was probably pretty loud. So now you have to fight off these bodyguards that this pilot has. You got to wait for the flames to go out, and then you can gather up the loot that was left behind from this crash site. And the third command that we can use is /JetEvent, where we get to determine how many planes are going to be involved in this event, how many of those planes are actually going to crash, and for how long we want to run this event for in minutes, obviously. So just for argument's sake, let's bring in 25 planes. For this video, I'm going to crash all 25 of them, and I'm going to let it run for 2 minutes. You'll get a notice in chat. It says, be advised, jets are currently inbound and will fire nuclear missiles around the island. And sure enough, that's exactly what they're going to do. So we have a crash event at the launch site right here. This is a terrible example because it's going to float, or one of them is going to float up in the air. There's a secondary one. Actually, it looks like there's a couple of them down here. And of course, we've got the backup scientists too. Oh, it fell there. Okay, that makes more sense. I hate things that happen in this launch site area right here. Facepunch was supposed to have fixed that a long time ago. I'm not really sure why they haven't yet. But we shouldn't be able to float items on top of this cratered area here. But we've got the scientists that are flying in there ready to defend all this loot, which of course you'll have to fight them off before you can actually steal the loot. Now, of course, that's obviously me calling in all of those events. You can, of course, automate this process. It's not like you have to be on the server to trigger those events. You can automate this process. So to that end, let's go over the configuration file and have a look at all of the details that we have control over. So in the configuration file for JetEvent, we of course can control all of the variables that are related to each one of those 3 different events that I just showed you. And this section right here is dealing with the automated event aspect of JetEvents. So do we want to use a random timer? When do we want that random timer to go off? What is the percentage of the chance that we want an event to actually take place? How many jets do we want the event to spawn if it is a successful event? The total length of the event, so how long are we going to have them flying around in our skies? And I've made some changes to this config file already. I believe by default that's set for 5 minutes. But once you have this running on your server, obviously you're going to see what it comes up as default. How many nukes can each jet fire? And this is a really important option right here. So do we allow those nukes to do damage to bases or just to players? By default, this is set to false. I really want to suggest that you don't turn this to true. Otherwise, your jet events could completely obliterate all of the bases that are on your server, depending on how you have your settings set up. You can disable the map marker. I wasn't able to show you that on my server because it's running in hardcore mode. There is no internal map. When a nuke is dropped, we can control how much radiation is created around that area, how big that area is, how much radiation there is, and of course, how long the radiation lasts. We of course can control all of the events of a crash site, how many planes to crash, is the pilot going to be there, how long do we want things to be on fire for before they can be looted, and then of course what kind of loot can be found in the crates that are left behind. And you can customize that loot table if you'd like by setting up a custom loot profile. We can have all of the same controls over the nuke event, and we can completely customize the NPCs or the scientists, whatever, that are coming in as backup at a crash site. We can control how many, what kits they're wearing, whether they drop loot. We can even control their names if we want to. So Razer has agreed to put the price of JetEvent on MyVector.XYZ down to $15 for the first 2 months after the release of this video. If you don't have an account set up at MyVector.XYZ, of course, it's super simple to set one up. But if you want to be purchasing through CodeFling, that's fine too. There's an option there as well. If you use promo code srtbull at checkout, it'll save you $5 off of whatever price it is when you decide to pick it up from CodeFling. I didn't specifically ask Razer how long that promo code is going to be valid for. I would assume that it would probably match up with the 2-month promo price over at MyVector, but I don't know that for sure. So maybe if you're thinking about getting this plugin, don't wait. It's of course up to each individual developer to decide how long that they want to have a promo code valid for, and I leave that totally up to Razer, so he gets to decide that. So give the JetEvent plugin a shot. Like I said before, the feedback on it has been great so far, and Razer seems to be consistently adding new features to it, so it probably will change by the time you're seeing this video. Who knows? There's a part of the nuke event that has been added since the last time I was playing around with the plugin, where it actually changes what the player sees, like it completely messes with their visuals, which I think the concept behind that actually came from Death. I'm not really sure. Anyways, the plugin's cool. I know you're going to love it, and what's more important than that is your players are really going to enjoy having a new event. I have finally put all of my stuff all together in one location. That is srtbull.com, so go check that out if you haven't already. And because this video accidentally turned into another CodeFling video, I want you to check out this video right here so you can learn even more about what's actually offered over at CodeFling.com. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, I might be switching to Sunday releases. I haven't made that decision yet, but it's kind of leaning that way. So if I don't see you next Friday, it's because I'm going to see you next Sunday instead.